be very clear, I ain't here to drink beer, smoke weed, shoot the breeze and break bread with you. I'm only here to resurrect the living dead with you. Thought it was some kind of a...
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. We just waiting on Sister Da'Ank to come on the line. My name is Rish. I'm the host of the Nine Minds Radio Show, and Da'Ank is my co-host, and we are very excited to have you on the show.
Well, I am glad that I was finally able to figure it out and what's wrong with you guys.
Yeah, she's been taking your class. Can you tell me the name of it? Tell me a little bit about it, because I've been fiending to take it myself. But
I completely understand. Well, the class that I teach is Black Witchcraft, and it is a total and complete spiritual empowerment class for Black women. It teaches Black women about the truth of their metaphysical nature and how to use that for the upliftment of themselves and their loved ones. So I guess I've been teaching it maybe about a couple of years now.
That's beautiful. Excellent. How did you get started? Because I'm gonna be honest, I've been following you since 2008. No, not 08, since 2012. And I used to watch your videos all the time. And when I was first learning about my magical self, you know, a lot of stuff was happening all at one time, and I just started finding all these teachers, really honestly on YouTube of all places. Before it was popular to find teachers on YouTube, I was just finding all these different, very like knowledgeable and powerful and tapped in women who knew what they were looking at, when they looked in the mirror, they knew what they were looking at. And it was just very powerful for me to come across your message at that time, and to see how you've grown and evolved over the years is like it's a true gift to see how everything has unfolded right before my eyes, as it your whole, how you present yourself and who you are as a woman. So yeah, I think Sister Da'Ank is on the line now.
I'm on the line. I was just waiting for you to finish. Oh, me too. I feel the same way. I was on this big, I used to call you Akalatunde because that's what was on the thing. And I was on this kick. And so I'm on it again because I just keep listening to my Black Witchcraft. For me, what it's about is like when I was growing up, you had to be a certain way as a female. You know what I mean? You had to have a stupid smile on your face all the time. And, you had to be self-sacrificing. Like, you couldn't be a full woman. You couldn't, even when I learned the deities, I learned about the Osset and the Heteru, but the ones that were full of fire, we didn't learn a whole lot about those. It's like everybody was toward that. And when I heard you, and there's a few other women too, I was like, I can fully be myself. Are you serious right now? And it was so powerful because it's like somebody to tell you are a Black woman and just as you are, you the shit.
Yes.
Somebody to tell you that's like, I had to sit and think about that for a minute.
Yeah. I feel you. I mean, I lived the meek and mild, completely covered African woman reality for a little over a decade, and being a priestess of Oshun, I was focused on my sweetness and my love and my kindness and all of that. And it was actually Oshun that came to me and was like, yep, we done with this bullshit. I was like, what, Mama? And I put her off. For about another year, And my best friend, my house began to flood at one point. My hot water heater just started gushing water. Like nothing had been wrong with it. But it just started gushing water, and so my house was filling up with water, and I was turning and turning the handle to try to turn it off, just to cut off the water supply to the hot water heater, and it would not go off. And I was trying to figure out what the significance of that was. So I was talking to my best friend, and she was like, but your path of Oshun, isn't that the path that floods? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, didn't she tell you like last year that it was time out for the bullshit? You know, ain't nobody gonna remember that kind of stuff but your best friend, you know.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, she did tell me. And she said, well, I think it's time out for the bullshit, dog. You know. I was like, yeah, you right, you know. So it was actually through one of those deities that's known for like her sweetness and her beauty and everything. She was, you know, she cried out to be shown for her full self. She was like, no, you're not showing the people the full me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, that's not what I brought you here to do. And I was like, okay, word. So it was on from then, completely.
I got something similar to that because I went to Ortheraset for a long time, and I loved their teachings. And they would do Heteru, and then when women would possess Heteru, and she's my mother, so when women would possess Heteru, they would be like, and they'd be walking around like a fairy godmother. And I was like, I don't know about that, right? So all of us, we have a little heat to us that's in the clan. So the people in the clan, they weren't acting like that, you know, in real life, but when they would show Heteru, it didn't feel real to me. And and she told me, you know, God created you, you know, to be a certain way. You know, I mean, you were created with fire. It's not like the Creator didn't know that you were going to have fire and expected you to sit there and pretend like, you know. So my Heteru is like, come here, honey, let me put it on you. It's not that demure little, you know, sweet little whatever. And she told me it was all right, and she had to tell me that because I didn't see that. We had to always be giggling and you know.
Most of us don't know that there are two sides to all of the Orisha, or multiple sides and facets to the Orisha. And you kind of go into, like you said, she called out for you to kind of cut that off. So.
Yeah, she, well, as you just said, all of the deities are multifaceted, you know, and that's one of the very beautiful things about African spiritual tradition is that there is not one way that entities come into being. And part of our tradition is to honor that fact that, you know, entities come into being in many different ways, and all of those ways have a place and space in the universe, and they are necessary, and they work and interact with all of the other ways of being. So as far as Oshun is concerned, you know, especially in the West, we focus very much on, you know, beauty and sweetness and love and marriage and her beautiful female sexuality and her attractiveness. And all of these things are parts of Oshun that I love as well, and I enjoy embodying those as well. But that's the focus in the West, you know. And in studying Oshun, I've been a priestess now for 22 years. And so in studying Oshun from the source, you know, from Oshogbo, you just study, you know, how the priests and priestesses there interact, what do they do, what is expected. And then you find that this sweet, loving, beautiful mother of beauty, mother of love, and all of that is also the leader of the witches. You know, that's one of her titles. She is the leader of the witches. She is the leader of the women of power. She is the leader of the women that you don't want to get on their bad side. You know, she's the leader of the women that you don't want to fuck with. You don't want to catch one of us in a dark alley. She's the leader of those women. You know, in addition to being this beautiful, sweet, sexy, all of this. All of that it's together. It's one. Yeah. You know, we've been taught to see that as some kind of dichotomy, but all of that is one. You know, when you're a bad woman, like I think about my mom and I think about my grandmother, my great-grandmother, when I think about those women, that all of that was encompassed in that one. You know, they would get ready to go to church on Sunday and they have on their stilettos and they would have the gloves and the purse. You know, the purse would match the shoe and the gloves would match the dress, and then they got the hat on. You know, they the baddest woman up in the church. But then when they step outside the church, if you come to them wrong, you're going to get cussed clean out. You're going to get cussed out to the point where you somewhere about to cry. You know, I was raised and I come from women who embody both of those pieces. So, you know, much like what you all are saying, once I begin to study the tradition, I was kind of put off by the fact that they weren't representing the deities as that type of feminine power that embodied both of those pieces. And so for me, when I first came into the tradition, people were pretty much sure that I must be a child of Oya, because they were like, oh, she's so fiery, you know, she comes with that fire. And that is, so everybody was pretty much sure of that. And my first African outfit that I bought was purple, and I had a little bracelet that had 9 cowrie shells on it. I mean, we were just pretty much sure. Mm-hmm. And then when I sat on the mat for the first time and got my first reading, you know, to hear that it was not only Oshun, but Oshun and Obatala, you know, the coolest of the cool.
Right,
I was like, what? You know, and so then that's why I began that process of study, because I was raised by women who made me feel very comfortable being my full self, and I expect that you expect me to be all of these things, because that's how I was raised. So I was never raised to tone that other side down. Yeah. My mother was, you know, my grandmothers were like, find people who can embrace all of those sides. Because if they can't embrace all of it, then they don't really want you, you know. So while on the one hand I was taught to be ladylike and to do this, that, and the other, I was still taught don't take no shit, though. And you couldn't come in my mother's house with no sad story about some bullshit you had taken from somebody. Because she was going to be mad at you. And you let them say what to you? That was what my mother was going to say, you know. So that's how I was raised. And so I felt out of place, you know, within this new system, and trying to figure out where the totality of me fit in that. And so once I became initiated, then I made Oshun the focus of my life, and she still remains so to this day. And I just made Oshun the focus. And so I just focused on Oshun, and I focused on getting to know this entity. And so that's what I did. I got to know her. I spoke with her. I studied her. Anything that said Oshun, any book that said Oshun, I bought it and I read it. Any piece of information I could find, I bought it, I read it, I ingested it, and I discussed it with my Oshun, you know, and I completely and totally bonded with her. And in bonding with her was how I made peace with all the sides of myself. But I still thought that was just me. I said, oh, that's just me and my Oshun. That's just how we, you know, are interacting. But then as I began to study, I was like, no, Oshun is that woman that you don't want to mess with. She is beautiful, sweet, and sexy, but she's still the woman that you don't play with. I mean, all of the Odu, all of the Pataki about her say you don't want to get her angry. Oshun is sweet and kind and loving and indulgent, but don't make Oshun angry. Every Odu says that. Every Odu about her. Every Pataki. You know. So I began to start to just talk to people about it and be like, no, if I was at an event and people were discussing Oshun and they only presented that one side, then I would say, no, that's not all of it, you know? And so, but still, at that point, within my own personal home life, in order to keep peace within my marriage, I was still just living one side of it. So I wasn't living my full self, because that wasn't something that he was able to handle. I mean, from the time we met, he was like, I don't like it when women curse. I don't like it when women do this, that, and the third, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so I wasn't living my full self. So even though if I would go give a lecture, I would talk about all the different, aspects of Oshun, all the different facets of Oshun. When I was at home, I was still just living that one, you know. And so that specifically was what she told me to stop doing. She came to me in a divination and was like, yeah, you about to stop that right there. And I was like, what? I was like, you know, he's a Babalawo, I'm a Petty B. We got a temple together. We got a African Center School. You know, I mean, we was doing it all. This is, you know, what I'm going to stop doing this. And she was like, yes, well, you got to stop that right there. And I was like, no, you know, I know it's not perfect or whatever, but I don't understand what you're saying. So I talked to my best friend, you know, I tried to reason it out. My best friend was like, I don't know. I think she mean what she say. Because, you try to rationalize and make it something else. But my best friend was like, I don't know, dog. I think she mean what she said. But then we left it alone. We talked about it and we left it alone. Life keeps happening. You got children at home, whatever. So that's when that flood happened. And I did not remember that reading at the time of the flood, when my house flooded. And it was my best friend that said but she told you. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and I was just saying that the nature of water is not to just be still, not even landlocked water. If it rains too much, it's gonna flood. It got creatures in the deep that you might not even know are there. Like it's so much to the water. You gotta take it for all of its parts. So that's very interesting. We get so caught up in presenting ourselves a certain way, especially when it comes to men, and we don't want to step on each other's toes or hurt each other's feelings, or not even that, but we don't even know how to just be our authentic self because we don't know what that is, what that looks like. And can you kind of go into how kind of tapping into like maybe even a Black witchcraft class, or what type of activities, or what can you do to start practicing being real? Like I could say the things that I did to help me shed that old skin and be my real self. But like, for what advice do you have for younger women, older women even, to kind of step into being their most authentic selves?
Well, the first thing is the truth of the matter as far as men are concerned is that, Black men love real Black women, and I'm not talking about Black men who haven't fully achieved their manhood, so we're not including them in this equation. But once a Black man he's fully embodying himself, then that real Black woman is what he wants. He wants that woman that has an opinion. He wants that woman that is going to stand by what she believes and is not going to be somewhere keeping her mouth shut. Women who are seen and not heard, that is a woman for a weak man. That's a woman really for a little boy, That's not a woman for a grown man. So that's the first thing. We have to get out of that fear of believing that a good, wonderful man who is worthy of us and worthy of our lives, to be a part of our lives, wants that meek and mild woman. Because any man who wants that, he's not himself. He's not his full self,
Right.
So then that's our first thing, is don't even worry about that, But my dad, when I listen to my dad talk about my mom, or my stepdad talk about my mom, what they say about, she's an ancestor now, but what they say is she was both the sweetest and meanest woman that you ever wanted to meet. And they say, and that's what was so irresistible about her. She was both.
Right.
And you'll never, and they both say, I'll never find another one like that. I will never find. So a real man who is ready to step up and be a part of your life, he wants that. That's attractive to him, because that's how his mama is. That's how his grandmama is. That's how his sisters are. So that's our first thing. We have to let go of that worry. And any man who tells you that it's too much, it is too much for him. And so send him on his way. Be like, I'm sorry, boo, I thought you were somebody that you're not. And send him on his way, because he's looking for a little girl. And there's plenty of little girls out there for him. So let him go on and find a little girl, Because if he wants a woman, then he's going to love what a woman brings to the table.
Right.
So that's, we gotta not even have that fear coming into it. That's the first thing. Second thing, what helped me the most to fully begin to see my authentic self was actually doing Queen of Fua's Sacred Woman. Excuse me, guys. So the gateways, going through the gateways, doing the salt baths every morning, doing my journaling, doing the yoga that's in the book, following the dietary codes that she puts out in the book, that for me really helped me to get in touch with myself. Because prior to doing Sacred Woman, I didn't have any me time. I had 4 small children, and as I said, I was running a temple.
I was running an African-centered school. I was, doing African dance. My life was completely full. And then, I was a wife. So my life was completely full. So there was no me time within that life. So if I were to want to be my authentic self, I didn't know what that looked like anyway, because I hadn't talked to that girl since before I became somebody's mama. I hadn't had no conversation with her by the time I started having kids. So I didn't know who she was. So what Sacred Woman allowed me to do was to get up early enough in the morning, which my mother and grandmother taught me. I just never did do it. But it taught me to get up early enough in the morning where I had like at least an hour, maybe 30 minutes to myself. Before the children got up, before the husband got up, I was up. I was taking my candlelit salt bath. I was writing in my journal. I was meditating in front of my shrine. I was doing the womb yoga. So I had this time to myself. Now, when I had this time to myself, lo and behold, she had all this stuff to say. And I was like, well, damn, where you been? And she was like, no, Heifer, where you been? I was like, where you been? I've been here. So she had all this stuff to say. So I was writing and writing and writing. My journals were filling up. And my best friend would buy me journals every time she went somewhere because I was filling journals up so quickly that I had to start collecting journals, which I still do to this day because I just fill them up. So I'm writing. All of this stuff is coming out. And I'm loving it. I'm loving the me that was living inside there, and I was like, this girl is really dope. She is dope. I like her, And so that was what started me on the path to begin to know my truth so that I could then begin to work on speaking my truth. But prior to giving myself that time, I didn't know what my truth was. I knew how I needed to act to make that life that I was living continue. And so that's what I was doing. That's what I focused on doing. And I'm not saying that was bad. I'm still happy for my babies that came out of that African-centered school and went off to college and did whatever they want to do. I'm happy about the godchildren that I have that came out of that temple and people that I initiated and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not saying any of that was bad, but it was not me living my authentic life. Right. So I did Sacred Woman, got back in touch with myself, and one of the things that I remembered was my mother telling us when we were small that we came from a long line of witches. And, she didn't talk about it, she didn't talk about it a lot, but she would say it. If something happened, she would say it. She would say, I saw you over there doing that so-and-so. Yeah, you come from a long line of witches, And people would... I was born, my birthday is October 28th. So because my birthday is so close to Halloween, people always call me a little witch anyway. And then I've always been very philosophical. Even as a small child, I would say things that were philosophical. So people thought that was, deep and witchy. And then I'm, when you put focus on things, things happen. When you focus your energy. And so I've always been really good at that. So if somebody, when I was younger, if somebody would do something mean to me or one of my older siblings would tease me, my mother would watch me. And, I would look at them and they might fall or they might stub their toe or they might trip. My mother would watch me and she'd be like, I see you sending that energy over there. And so she had told me from the time I was small that, we come from a long line of witches. These are the type of women that you have in your family. But she didn't talk about it outside of that. She would tell us things. My grandmothers taught us how to follow the moon, the course of the moon. But that was because we were from the country. And in the country, because everybody's a farmer, you don't do anything against the moon. So it was our grandmothers that taught us, you have to follow the course of the moon. And when the moon is full, you do this. When the moon is new, you do this. So I learned all those things from my grandmother but everybody learned those where I'm from because we had to farm to eat, Yeah. And so I had that. And my mother would say, things, and we'd talk about our dreams when we woke up in the morning. And dreams were taken very seriously. And, well, did this happen? Did this kind of spirit visit you in the night? This is just the way I was raised. But a lot of this, it's just being from the country. Because in more rural places, so many of those Africanisms are just very much preserved.
Yes.
So, yeah. So that's just how I was raised. But after doing Sacred Woman, then I kind of started thinking about that again, too. And I was like, oh, I remember Mama saying, you know, this, that, and the third. And so then I started studying witchcraft to see exactly what does that word even mean. You know, when somebody says you're a witch, what does that mean? So once I began to study witchcraft, and nobody writes books on witchcraft except white women. So I'm studying, you know, this white stuff that white women have written. And everything that they saying is a witch. It's just regular black women to me. That's every black woman does that where I'm from. So, you know, witch, you know, she follows the cycles of the moon. I'm like, okay, every black woman does that where I'm from. You know, a witch heals her family with herbs. Okay, every black woman does that where I'm from. You know, a witch knows how to clean her house with certain kind of smokes and, you know, smokes it out with certain kind of herbs and sprinkles these different things in the corner. I'm like, okay, so everybody's grandmama don't do this. Like the stuff that they were saying, I was like, I thought everybody did this. I really did. I thought everybody knew this. I didn't think that anybody was out here being a black woman without a grandmother who had done these things. So to hear it called witchcraft blew my mind, and it was funny to me. I was like, well, this is just ridiculous, you know. But everything that I read confirmed that. And I was like, oh, so when they are talking about being witches, they're talking about just living what our grandmothers and great-grandmothers considered just a normal life. That's normal for us. That is just how we live. And so I was like, okay. And so I came to that, you know, as a conclusion, and I was fine with it. So I was like, okay, well, then I am a witch, obviously. I've always been one. There's nothing else to be where I'm from. That's how you live, you know. And when you have very little, you find out how to manifest in ways that don't cost money. Right. You know, so the women from my hometown, you know, we manifested. Manifesting was how you got what you needed. Manifesting was how you fed your children. You know, and when I had my first daughter, that's what my mother told me. She was like, don't ever let anybody make you believe that it is anything other than your prayers that feeds this child. The only thing that will ever feed this child will be your prayers. Don't let anybody make you think it's something else, because then you will feel dependent upon them. And there's no reason for you to depend upon anybody, because it's only ever your prayers that will feed her. And I mean, that's how the black women in my hometown were, because we, you know, it's poor. We had little, you know. So it wasn't no money to spend on us no way. So you couldn't do nothing but manifest, you know. So in seeing that and remembering that after doing Sacred Woman, I began to, like I said, study witchcraft and became very comfortable referring to myself as a witch. But still, you know, just that was my household thing. That was, you know, if I did a reading for somebody, I may share with them, you know, these are some, you know, things from witchcraft that you can do or whatever. But I still kept it very much within my home and within my community. And so got a divorce, moved to the Caribbean, came back to the United States. My mother passed away, and I left Nashville, moved to Atlanta. And in Atlanta, you know, just doing my thing, doing divination for people, doing lectures on, you know, black womanhood, et cetera, and just never, once I realized that I was a witch and became very comfortable with it, then I never left it out of anything that I was talking about. And so people were just always so fascinated by it. And I was like, it ain't, this is just how black women are, you know. And so I was talking to a client who has since become a good sister friend. And I was saying, well, I mean, everybody's grandmama does, you know, I'm just saying what I say. What I mean, everybody's grandmama talking about so-and-so. And she was like, okay. She was like, you need to be out here teaching women, because everybody's grandmama didn't teach them that. And that was the first time it dawned on me. I mean, I guess I knew intellectually, but that was the first time it had been put into words. So she and I had like a very early morning reading over Skype. And so after I finished doing her reading, I went and got back in my bed. It was winter, so, you know, got back under my little warm covers or whatever. And I was just laying there thinking about what she said. And I was like, I guess she's right. I guess everybody's grandmother didn't teach them that. You know, and I just meditated on it for a couple of months. You know, Oshun, is this something that I need to be doing? You know, is this what you want me to do? You know, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's how that conversation is how Black Witchcraft came about. Because I was like, okay, well, people's grandmothers aren't teaching them. So I will teach them because as a priestess of Oshun, that she is the leader of the witches, you know. And I just think that Black women have been taught, first of all, that we are not supposed to be ferocious.
Right.
Somebody has taught us that we're not supposed to be ferocious when it's obviously our nature to be ferocious. That's the nature of any beautiful Hellcat that comes out of Africa. Come on, we ferocious. That's just natural.
Right.
You know, that's part of what makes it so irresistible. Just like as heterosexual Black women, when we look at other Black women, what makes them so dope is that it's fly, it's beautiful, but it's ferocious on top of it all. So if we are looking at other Black women and feeling that way, then obviously anybody else who's looking at us feels that way, you know?
Right.
And like that ferocity, we've been told to not only just tone that ferocity down, but to completely rip it out of ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
That's what we've been told. Oh, you can't be ferocious, you know. You got to be some other thing, whatever this other thing over here is. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that when we are spiritual, someone else gets to police how we do that. You know, someone, the outside force is always letting us know what kind of spirituality is allowed for us. You know, when this is our spirituality just as a natural course. This is how our grandmothers did it. This is how their mothers did it, all the way back to that first African woman. This is how we've always done it. No one gets to police that. No one gets to tell us, well, you don't get to do this over here. This is not for you. No, it's all ours. This comes from us. It doesn't come from anyone else. So, yeah, I do get to do this over here. I get to do every part of it that calls to me because I'm the source of it.
Right.
So nobody gets to tell me what parts of it don't belong to me when I gave birth to all of it. There's no spiritual system on Earth Mother Onile that was not originally worshiping the Black woman. Every spiritual system was originally to worship us. Every spiritual symbol is simply a symbol of our bodies, Black women's bodies. Right. So I'm like, well, so you can't point to nothing and tell me I don't get to do that. I get to do it all because it all comes out of me. So for me, witchcraft was one of those things that, you know, you steered away from. White girls are doing that. And some white girls do that, Wicca and all that, et cetera, et cetera. But then as you study it, all that they're doing in that is worshiping you.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
That's what it is. How is it okay for everybody else to worship us, but we ain't supposed to worship us?
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I call it the box. You know, it's like everybody wants us to get in this box and live in this box according to a certain kind of way. How do you think that came about? Because once upon a time we did have that matriarchy. And once upon a time, you know, an external matriarchy, and we did have women rulers, and we did have Black women being themselves. How did this happen where our men, the biggest complaint they seem to have is that we're angry and we're this and that? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, well, from what I can tell historically, from a historical perspective, when the Aryans came out of the Caucasus Mountains, the first places that they conquered were India and Asia, and then what people choose to call Europe, but really is just a part of Asia. So those were the places that those people came in and conquered. Those were the original people who tried their best to destroy the matriarchies. So with the coming of colonialism, Africa was still matriarchal and matrilineal. And this is coming from the mouths of the great Afrocentric scholars, Sheikh Anta Diop, who is now honored ancestry by Rataroon, Theophile Obanga. All of the great African scholars raised in Africa say very clearly that all ancient African societies were matriarchal and matrilineal. So there's no doubt that that's what still was the case when Europeans came into Africa to begin to enslave our ancestors. So that's one side of who we are. The other side here in what we call the Americas now, all of the indigenous people of this area were, of course, matrifocal and matrilineal. And Columbus wrote about it, and De Soto, all of those European explorers that came over here talked about how the people of this land revered their women and how their women ruled. So that was still the norm for us even up until that point. Now, in Europe and in Asia and in those places that have been touched by those Neanderthals coming out of the Caucasus Mountains, those places that were touched by them earlier, those places had become patriarchal. So when they turned around and came to conquer us, that's what they brought with them. But that patriarchal way of looking at society does not belong to us, and it has no place within our spiritual systems, our communities, or our ways of life. Still, to this day, in Yoruba land, in Nigeria, the only way to dethrone the king is for the elder mothers of the community to come into his throne room and kneel in the posture that they use to give birth and to pull their breasts out. And when the elder mothers come into the throne room and do that, the king knows he got to go. Today. This happens today, 2016. That's the only way it can happen. Otherwise, he ain't got to go nowhere. He going to rule for life. Because the power of the community is still known to be feminine and therefore held within the wombs and the hands of the elder mothers and held within the active wombs of the younger women. That's still understood. That's still understood. What they are mimicking, what we see people mimicking, is a European value system that was not even the value system of ancient Europe. They were matriarchal as well. So what we find, what we have, to me, with the creation of niggas came black patriarchy. Black patriarchy and niggas, that go hand in hand. That's the same thing. So when you make a person, you turn a human being into chattel, then you have to make them something less than human. Right. So then what they made us was niggas. But in order to take that human status away from us, they had to strip us of our philosophy. So part of the philosophy that they made fun of was our matriarchy. They made fun of that. And if you read the old accounts of when the colonizers came into Africa, they wrote about it. Oh, they worship their women. They put their women on such a high, pedestal. They hold such, high esteem for what their women have to say. They don't make any decisions before asking their women. And see, I'm an English major, so I'm forced to know British history all the way back to the original Brits. Right. So when I tell you what those colonizers said, I've been reading what those colonizers have written since I was 17. Because I'm a writer. I'm an English major. So I'm not lying to you about what Columbus said, about what De Soto said, Vasco da Gama. All of these different colonizers, when they came in, they said straight up and down, these people listen to their women. They expect their women to tell them what to do. They don't make any decision without the women agreeing with it. And they made fun of that. They laughed at that. And so then what happened with those of us who were unfortunate enough to be taken into enslavement was that then you get a group of people that are constantly trying to imitate who they've been taught to see as their superior. So if you've been taught that European culture and European belief system is superior, then that's who you're running around imitating. Right. But in truth, black men, don't nobody feel like that. Nobody feels like that. Everybody's family is based on Big Mama. Every black family is based on Big Mama. Don't nobody do nothing if Big Mama say we ain't gonna do it. Our families are still set up like this. If Big Mama say ain't gonna do it, you ain't gonna do it. When my parents got divorced, I would go to my daddy's house and I would think I was gonna play one against the other. So you get to your daddy's house, Daddy, can I watch this? Do your mama let you watch that? He's like, oh man, Daddy, can I eat that? You get to eat that at your mama's house? Oh man, well Daddy, can I go here? Call your mama and see what she. I was like, man, this dude, he ain't got no kind of backbone. He ain't even married to this woman no more, and he ain't gonna do nothing without her say. But that's the norm. So no, I don't know any couple that's happily married where the man doesn't say that. Well, he doesn't say, let me check in with the boss. Let me check in and see what the boss lady say.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna spend that money, man. I ain't gonna spend that money. Let me see what she say about it. I don't know, man. I would like to come and hang with y'all, but let me see what she got to say about it. That ain't new for us. That's not foreign to us. That's normal. That's what, for us, as people of African descent, that's what looks like balance to us.
Yeah.
Because even when I'm saying it, we are all like, well, what else would they say?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to think that they would say anything else. Because in the structure of our DNA, it's such that that is our expectation, because that is what is balanced for us.
Yeah.
If you look at, I started to think about what we call single parent homes here in the United States. I was reading this article years ago about basketball players, black basketball players, and how they revere their mothers. And a white person had written the article. And this white person was blown away. It's almost like these black guys, they infer queen status upon their mothers, and that's all they're thinking about. As soon as they start making money, they want to buy their mom a house and buy their mom a car and do this, that.
Yes.
And he was just shocked. He was shocked. He couldn't understand why they were so attached to their mothers, And I was like, what is he talking about? Isn't that what everybody thinks about when they get money? So I couldn't understand his cultural perspective. But he was blown away by the way that we view motherhood in the black community. That blew his mind. And then after I read the article, I began to analyze it from my perspective as a black person. And I was like, so this is why we're going to fight you over the phrase your mama. Because mama still holds that position. Mama still holds that position. Somebody could say your daddy. You might say something to him, but you got to fight if they say your mama. You got to fight.
Yeah.
Right. So mother still holds that position.
Do you feel that it's changed a little bit, though? Because all I hear from younger men of today is they blame black women for everything. And they don't seem to, I don't know what they do with their mothers personally, but when they're on Facebook, they blame them for and I don't remember it being that way come up. Your mother was everything to you. She didn't have to be perfect. She was all that.
Right.
But nowadays, they're like, well, the woman picked the wrong man and he did it. They blame everyone when they do something. They blame it on the mother, the wife, the whoever. I've never seen nothing like this. I think it's worse now. I really do.
I think with social media is that we just are hearing from the crusty foots. That's my take on it. My take on it is that the real men are out here at their job, and they ain't got time to be talking on Facebook. That's what I think is happening. I think that men who have time to say a whole bunch of shit on Facebook, it's because they ain't got no damn job. And so, he got time to pontificate on how it's his mama's fault, because he ain't at work. The rest of us done got off and went to work, and by the time we get off from work, we come back and he done wrote 35 paragraphs because we out here doing other stuff. He's not. So for me, I think that the empty wagon makes the most noise. And that's always the case. That's always the case. Is that whatever ain't got nothing to say, they the one over there running their mouth the most. So to me, I don't take social media seriously because when I meet people in person and talk to people, then that's not how they're feeling, That's not how men are feeling. These people over here are really feeling that way. The Tommy Sotomayers and all these other people that run up behind him, they really do feel that way, and that is fine. I hope that they all find lovely white women to live their dreams with. I really do. I want them to just go on. Just go on. We don't need you over here. We don't require your commentary. If it is white women that you love, please go and find you one. I wish you the best on your journey. I really do.
That's one brother. What is this? But what is the issue if it's not their mothers? If it's not like somebody hurt that brother?
It is their mama. It is their mama.
It is their mama.
No, it's their mama. Yeah, it's their mama. Okay. That's the issue. Is that she didn't buy him that Nintendo DX? Well, I don't know nothing about no game system. She didn't buy him the whatever. He really does believe that she kept him from his dad. Just whatever 7-year-old conclusion that you come to. They believe it. But see, the problem is that what happens with the rest of us is we all came to that conclusion at 7. We all looked at our mother and said, she ain't about nothing. I can't believe she over here doing this one. At 7 years old, we all felt that way about our mothers. And you know what? That was normal. That's a normal stage that you have to go through at 7 years old to break away from that bond that you have from your mother. Otherwise, you'll never be your own person. So, we all went through a stage of our lives of feeling like that. And then if you're a girl, you got to go through it again once you start developing because it's 2 women in the house. And so you go through just hating her. Just like, why is she talking to me? Is she talking again? You just go through that. But what happened with the rest of us is that once we hit 20, 30, 40, 50, once we got out here in this adult world, we were like, oh, damn, mama was right.
Yeah,
we had experiences, and this is men and women. The rest of us had experiences that helped us to stop viewing life from the perspective of a 7-year-old.
Right.
But if you did not have those experiences, then you're stuck in that viewpoint. So to me, that's where they are. They're stuck in the viewpoint of a pre-pubescent child who has not learned, well, mommy did these things because that was what was for my own good. And then nobody has no perfect mama. So I'm not speaking from that perspective. It was some shit our mamas did that they shouldn't have done. And they would say that now. When you get to be a certain age, you sit down with your mama and she gonna tell you, I shouldn't have done that. That was some foul shit. Your mama is gonna tell you that herself. So nobody's saying that everybody's mama was perfect and, she got up in the morning and baked cookies and shit. Ain't no black mama got time to do that. We out here trying to survive. Everybody doing that shit. So we're not saying that. But what we are saying is you reach an age where you can understand the choices that your parents made, your mother and your dad. You understand that, and you're like, oh, okay, I see why they did that. Okay, wish they had done it differently, but damn, they did it that way. Okay, I see why they did that. Just as you mature. So when you see people that have never gotten over and never moved past whatever issues they had with their parents, then to me, that just speaks to their level of maturity. You've never really matured into a real adult. Because Tommy Sotomayor, we're going to use him as an example, he hates chocolate women. And he's chocolate.
Lord. Yes.
Right. So you know his mama chocolate and you know his daddy chocolate.
Right.
So that right there speaks volumes. That speaks volumes in and of itself. He don't have to say nothing else. So you sitting here looking at him, and he talking about how he hates chocolate women and he chocolate. So he doesn't have to say anything else. You know that he hasn't moved past whatever little boy decision that he made. That statement alone speaks to everything else that you hear him say. That's it.
Right.
Nothing else that he says can be taken as the words of an adult, because he's not speaking from the perspective of adult. And when I counsel people, I tell them that. When people come to me with mother issues or daddy issues, then I say, okay, you're right. Your daddy shouldn't have left you and shouldn't have left your mom there to fend for you guys by herself. You are absolutely correct. And so as a 7, 8, 9-year-old, however old you were when it happened, that was painful for you and that was hurtful. And we can see how that was hurtful. But now, at 35, there should be a part of you that can also understand why daddy left. Not saying that it's right. Not excusing him, not saying that he should have done it or that you will do it. But as an adult, you ought to be able to look at the situation and see how it could come to that. And once you can see, I see how he came to that conclusion. It was still the wrong conclusion, but I see how he got there. To me, once you can see that, or with every client I've had, once they can see that, then they're able to move past the situation. And like I said, that doesn't mean that you forgive. I don't believe in forgiveness. So it doesn't mean that you forgive the person or anything of that nature. That just means that you are able to continue to move forward in your life. Because some people don't deserve to be forgiven. Some people need to be left in the hole that they put themselves in. They need to be left.
I want to talk about that for a second, because that's something, that's a very powerful statement to make and to carry, because I was always taught, and I've struggled with this in a lot of different ways, because I've been betrayed in a very real, like all of us have. We've all been betrayed, and we have betrayed others. So I'm not saying, you know, anything, any type of, but I was betrayed in a very real way by blood relatives. And it's been 3 years now, and I haven't, almost 3 years now, and I haven't, I don't talk to them, like at all, not any of them. And me and my mother just got back on speaking terms, you know. We were kind of, I was fine, but I was still holding a lot of that pain, and then it all just kind of bubbled over, and I blew up, you know, on both my parents, and I was like, I don't, you know, fuck all y'all. I hate all y'all. I don't want nothing to do with none of y'all. But I had to, you know, that's my mother, you know, and everything you just said about, like that, you know, that's my father, that's my mother, those are my brothers, my five. I call them my five. It was the five of us, you know, from the beginning, and it's going to be the five of us in the end. And if we all could get it on track, I'd be fine with that. The rest of them could kick rocks. And I feel, I feel at peace with the distance. I don't feel like I haven't forgiven them, but I do feel like I have adjusted and modified my approaches towards them based on who they've shown me that they are, what they're capable of.
Yes.
Type of thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, can you explain, like that, what the whole, like, because when people say, oh, forgiveness is a gift to yourself, and so you could be at peace, like, can you,
I don't believe in none of that. That's bullshit. That's bullshit as far as I'm concerned, and that's not safe. That's unsafe. If I walked around here forgiving folks, I would be dead. I wouldn't be alive. If I was forgiving motherfuckers, I would still be in the presence of people who wanted to kill me. So I would not be alive. So I do not believe in forgiveness. I believe in forgiving myself. I believe in forgiving my damn self for whatever I did to keep that situation going for as long as I did. And so that is who I work on forgiving. But as far as other people are concerned, once you show me who you are, then I believe you, and that is who you are, and I act accordingly. Now, then what I do is I completely take you out of my sphere of existence. So I don't think about you. I don't sit around during the day wishing you bad. If your name comes up, it takes me a minute to remember who the hell you are. I'd be like, now who now? Because I completely remove my ashe from the situation. I remove all of my personal power from the situation. You don't get any thoughts, feelings. You don't get any bad feelings, and you don't get any good feelings.
Right.
You don't get any of that from me. Everything that I would have normally been giving, I take that back and I give it to myself.
Right.
So in the early stages of that, if I start to think about the person, no, I decide, well, what can I do for myself? Do I need my nails done? Are my eyebrows bushy? What's going on? I don't think about the person. I give all that love and all that consideration. I put that back on me. And so I forgive myself. I work on forgiving myself. Other people, that's them. That's their issues that they have to work out. That's their destiny. That doesn't have anything to do with me. I'm going to do what is necessary to keep myself safe and the people that I brought into this world. If that means that I'm not at certain family gatherings, then that's fine. I'm good with it. It's no hard feelings. I'm not mad. I'm not sitting over here angry. I'm happy as hell. And I hope that y'all are too. But I don't put myself or my children knowingly in positions that are dangerous. And when I say dangerous, I mean any kind of verbal abuse, any kind of physical abuse, any kind of bullshit. I don't stand there and wait for bullshit. When I know that this is a arena of bullshit, I get my ass out of it.
Right.
I'm done with it. And I'm done. I cut it off and I'm done. Completely done. And I'm just over here living my life. And people always like, well, you don't like so-and-so? I don't think about so-and-so not to like them. Right. You know? So it's not like or dislike.
That's the key right there, though. You said you're not spending time broiling and boiling over it. So it's not letting it affect you. And I think that's what they say you got to forgive them. I don't think they mean you got to be up under them and stuff like that. I think they mean that if you spending time, you know, angry or had anxiety and stuff like that over the situation,
you gotta let it go.
On yourself up. Yeah.
But see, that comes from you being angry with yourself. That's what I figured out about all that anger and anxiety. I feel angry about putting myself in that position. When I finally break, when I break situations like that down to their lowest common denominator, all of that anger is how I feel. Because I'm saying, well, why didn't I do so-and-so? Well, why didn't I hit the person back? Well, why didn't I say this? Well, when I talk to him again, I'm going to say this. That doesn't have anything to do with them. That's me. I'm angry with myself. So then I stay in my house, in my little space, and I deal with that anger that I have with myself. Okay, so you didn't know this situation. I talk sweetly and gently to myself. You didn't know the situation was like that. That's why you went into it and handled it like that. It's fine, girl. The next time something like that comes your way, you're going to know how to handle it. Okay, so you didn't handle this one anyway. I talk gently to myself, and I give myself however long I need to get over it. But that's me. I don't deal with nobody else but me. And if I'm still mad about it, then I know I haven't finished dealing with myself. Because once I'm done dealing with myself and once I've calmed her down and she's made peace with the issue, then I can move on. I can let it go. But I'm also going to journal. You know, I'm going to journal. I'm going to put it down on paper. You know, I have my closest best friend in the world. We've been friends since we were 17. And I know I can call her and talk her ear off and vent and get it out. You know, and if I need to cry, if I need to scream, if I need to yell, she's the person that can hear that and still not judge me and still love me at the end of the conversation. So I have that one person that I can go and do that with. And that way, that other person ain't getting none of my ashe. Whoever that old crusty foot is who done came in and done some stupid shit in my life, they ain't getting none of my ashe. I'm giving ashe back to my best friend who's going to give it back to me. And I'm putting my ashe in my journal. I might make me a Facebook Live video talking about how trifling crusty foots are, you know. But I ain't got to name no names. I ain't got to name no names. I can just get that off my chest. And that's out in the universe. All women are getting blessed by it. She's like, damn, I'm with a crusty foot too. Because she didn't know until I put that out there. So there you go. You blessing people with it without giving that person any more of your energy. So when you feel yourself getting angry about it again, find some other way to put it out. Because that person doesn't even deserve a phone call to cuss them out. They don't even deserve it. That's still, and see, men taught me that. Men taught me that. Because, you know, they'll do something foul. You'll cuss them out. You'll break up with them. And you get up the next morning, you taking the kids to school, you making them breakfast, and you get mad all over again. Yeah. I can't believe he had the nerve to do that to me. So what you do? Take the kids to school, you drop the kids off at school, you call his crusty behind back. And another thing. And there you are. Cussing him out about it again. But what men have told me, my men friends that I consider my brothers, they said anytime you dial his number, he's winning.
Right.
Even if you dial his number to cuss him out, when he sees your number come up on the line, he's feeling like a winner. And he don't care that you cussing him out.
Right.
So I learned that from them. So I was like, oh. But let me be over here completely giving this energy to other people. I can give this to my best friend. I can put it in my journal. I can write it in a book. Let me give this energy to other people, because when I give it to him, I'm only giving him something else to stab me with again. I'm only giving him something else to hurt me with. And I'm re-engaging him, which then is just reopening the wound. Whether I'm cussing him out or not, it's just reopening the wound. So
and he knows
I had to learn that.
He know he still got you. Yeah.
Yeah. He's still crazy about me, man. What's his name? Old Crazy KC from Jodeci. Still talking about how every song Mary J. Blige writes is still about me. He's still feeling like this woman is sending him some energy. This woman done remarried and divorced and everything again. Right. And he's still feeling like he got her. I still got her mind. Yeah, you take all of your ashe and give it back to yourself. Yeah, give it to yourself. Give your ashe to yourself. That's another thing that we're told we're not allowed to do. We're told that our power and our love and our creativity and our ability to nurture and all of this power that we walk with. When you ever seen how you're sitting in a conference room and when a centered and a black woman who loves herself walk in the room, we change the whole energy of the room. We walk in with our head held high. They're not ever ready for that, you know. But all of that energy that we normally walk with, we've been taught that what we're supposed to do is to give that to everybody else. Right. And I mean, when you're a mother, you love your children. You don't mind giving them some of it. When you're in a loving relationship with your partner, you don't mind giving your partner some of it. But seriously, most of that, we are supposed to be giving that to us.
Mhm.
Most of that you're supposed to be giving back to yourself.
Well, when you give
So
it
that
back
you
to
can.
yourself, they getting it anyway. Just by the virtue
There you
of
go.
watching you do that, they like
Yes.
it's oozing
Yes.
off of you onto them anyway. So.
And that's how they get the best. When we give it back to ourselves, that's when they get the best, because them oozes and droplets be the best.
Right.
You know. But yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't forgive. I don't believe in forgiveness, because to me that's a Christian concept. I believe in letting go. I believe in removing my ashe from the situation. I believe in getting that anger out, because if you leave that anger inside, it's going to make you sick. So I believe in getting that anger out, you know, but I don't forgive nobody. I believe who people say they are, and I understand that we are all here trying to figure out how to fulfill our destinies. That's all that anybody is doing. And so that's what that person is doing. And if they choose to do it in a way that's harmful to me, then I got to leave them over there to do it their way.
Yeah. And I think that's the most powerful and most important approach we can take to racism and white supremacy, in all honesty. Because we are always talking about what we can do to combat that, what we can do to, you know, end that. Like, it's going to be an act against it. And the only act that we can perform against it is to completely remove ourselves and our energy, our ashe, from that whole paradigm. And why do we keep talking about it? Why do we keep giving energy to it? Why don't we just stop talking about it and focus our ashe on ourselves?
Us.
Our own,
because we already know what's going to happen. We know what's going to happen. When the scenario presents itself, we have been here long enough that we know what the end result is going to be. So I don't even watch it. I don't sit up and watch it. I don't sit up and fill myself with wondering what's going to happen when I know. I'm 47 years old. I've lived in the United States of America for 47 years. I know what's going to happen in any scenario. You know, so then I don't concern myself with that. I don't let that consume my mind or consume my days. And if my grandmother and my great-grandmother and my great-grandfather bought the plantation of the white people that used to own him, as soon as he was released from enslavement, he bought the whole damn thing. And that belonged, now we still own that land in Millington, Tennessee. So for me, there is nothing that white supremacy can do that's going to hold me back. If it didn't hold my great-great-grandfather back from buying the whole damn plantation, then I don't have to be sitting over here worried about anything that they doing, ever. They can't hold me back. They didn't hold him back. They didn't hold my grandmother back, didn't hold my mother back. So I'm not worried about whether or not they can hold me back. You know, I'm going to have to push through whatever obstacles there are out there, and I'm going to have to get out here and fulfill my destiny. And that's just the truth of life. If I, like you said, allow those types of thoughts to consume me, then I am expending my energy on that. You know, so I'm like, let them do their thing. Let them do whatever that is that they're doing. Most of the time, I don't even know what it is because I don't watch the news. I don't fill myself up with that. I would be horribly, terribly depressed if I were to do that, because I'm sensitive. So if I sit up and watch that bullshit, girl, me either. If I can't see it online, then I don't know nothing about it. I'd be like, people be asking me, what about the song? So I have no idea. I don't know. I know what's going on at my house and in my community. I can tell you about that. I don't know. You know, so, we need to completely and totally, and we can look at what our ancestors did. Look at the things that our ancestors were able to achieve, even in the United States. That's because they were focusing on them. My mother, grew up during the time when schools were still segregated. And she said the desegregation was the worst thing that could have happened to us. Because she said we wasn't worried about white folks. We was worried about us. I agree with you. That's where our mindset needs to be. Completely and totally focused upon ourselves, starting with ourselves, leading into our children, and then into our community. That's where our focus should be. And the rest of it, we just shouldn't be studying it, as our grandmothers would have said. Don't be studying that.
That's right.
What you say about witchcraft, when you were telling black women that you are a witch, I heard a man say that. He's a Yoruba priest, and he said every black woman is a witch. And when you talk about witchcraft, first you practically deify being a black woman, which I love, right? And then before you get all gassed up and luxuriated and everything. Then the other shoe drop, and it's like, and that means nothing can stop you. That means I'm telling you that so you can rise up and get to your responsibility, right, and do what you got to do. So there's no excuses.
Yes.
Nothing can stop you because you're a witch, you know what I mean, and you're a black woman and you're a sacred object, you know, and it's kind of like a positive spell when you say it. You know what I mean? Because it's like I felt myself getting taller and everything. It really had a big, powerful effect because we listening to bitch ho on the radio. We listen to Sotomayor. We getting attacked outside the community. When I was growing up, we were single-handedly taking all the good jobs from white men because of affirmative action. We fulfilled 2 roles, and we were also welfare queens with 15 children at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Somehow at the same time. Somehow simultaneously. Yep.
And it's like we really need that, you know, the thing that you're teaching us and stuff like that. We need that really badly because it hasn't, you know, what you hear. I agree with you. In the community, the men who are really men, that you're probably not hearing a lot from them. But the ones that's making all the noise is not positive. You know what I mean? So you don't you can lose faith in yourself. You can lose faith in all the things that you can do. You know?
Yes.
Really.
And that's the purpose of that. That is the purpose of that. And you have to understand that individuals who are lashing out like that, that's what they want to happen. They want to see people lose their self-esteem and to lose their footing and their grounding in the universe. So just like the television, that's something else that we have to unplug from. And we have to, I believe what I can see with my eyes. I believe what I experience in my life. If it comes to me through another avenue, then I'm very leery of it. So then I'm going to say, well, of the men that I know, this is how they feel. And that's what is real to me. These crusty foots over here saying this, I've met very few people who actually feel like that. Right. I don't even know if he actually feel like that. Is he high? Is he on something? Like, what's going on? How is he feeling like that? So I don't know.
Or is he making money?
I don't know.
Is he making money?
Right. Is somebody paying him to say this nonsense? Yeah. So it's like, I don't take him seriously. I'm like, he's broken. He's ridiculous. He is completely impotent within society, and that's how he feels. And so he's lashing out as the closest thing to him. And so then there's no way for me to take him seriously. It's like a 3-year-old throwing a tantrum. Don't nobody take that seriously. Right. You either step over it and keep going, or you snatch it up and say, you got to get in this car, because that's what I said. You don't take that seriously. Right. You don't look at the 3-year-old tantrum and be like, oh, what are they angry about? Don't nobody give a damn. Get in this car. Ain't nobody saying that. So to me, that's the same way I feel about crusty foots. I kind of look at them, squinch my eyebrows together, and be like, well, you just crazy. You sure is crazy. And I move on. It's like a toddler. You just somebody just bellowing in the background. It's not anything to be taken seriously. But yes, we need to hear what our place is within the universe, because we have to step up to the plate. See, we have lost Big Mama. It's not that people don't still want to be focused on Big Mama, but we have stopped being Big Mama. Right. We're not stepping up into the Big Mama role. So to me, that's on us. Step on up into that Big Mama role. Be who you're supposed to be. Yes. You are supposed to be letting people know when they're out of line. In your family, you should be telling them you out of line. You ain't got no business doing that. And then you move on. That's what Big Mama did. Big Mama didn't let nobody come in her living room crazy and doing stuff crazy and talking crazy. She let them know. You can get on out my house talking like that. And she would put them out. We have to step back into that role. That is needed. We have to be exactly who we are and take responsibility for our children and for our families. And once we are doing that, then we're taking responsibility for our communities. You know, I talk about the year that I spent working at a juvenile detention facility. It's basically just a jail for little boys. And the children that I was counseling, I had 12 young men that were my complete responsibility, you know, and they were from the ages of 13 on up to 18. And, of course, the majority of them were black and Hispanic. I did have a couple of young white men as well. And, you know, I'm a short woman. I'm 5'2". You know, I'm small. I'm petite. And, you know, these guys were, you know, supposed to be big, mean, burly criminals, you know, and I heard them talking about the children, and, you know, they gave us all this training because, you know, when you're in a room with a criminal, you know, blah, 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 blah. They saying all this stuff. And I'm thinking, so, okay, do y'all really feel that way about these little boys? You know, so I get on down here to my dorm, and each of the groups of children had their dorm. And when I walk on this dorm, I lock myself in. So I had to lock myself in with these 12 young men who had been arrested for various things. And, you know, everybody, like, we don't know, you know, when they hired me, they were like, we don't know if this is going to work out for you. You seem to be, you know, very soft-spoken and blah, blah, blah. We just don't know. But I handled those children as children. And they completely and totally respected it. Completely and totally. They just needed somebody to step up and be a damn grown-up.
Right.
But what I look like being scared of them, you know. So on Friday evenings, I would sit down out in the dorm with them, and we would all watch the show Avatar, the little Avatar show, The Last Airbender. And we would sit in a circle around the little television. And I'd always have, you know, each dorm had to have one security guard in there with them. And the security would just get so flustered. Now, all the security were men, big men. And they would get really flustered. Like, you can't, Miss Envelope, you can't sit out here with all of them like that. That's not safe for you. And I was like, we watching the show. We good. We good. Are you worried? You don't know these young boys like I do. I am here all day with these children.
Right.
I get up, I go to school with them, I sit and I eat lunch with them. These are basically like another set of children that I had given birth to. You tell me I don't know them? Yeah, I know them. I know I'm good. No, I'm not scared of sitting out in a room with 12 little boys. And yes, I know that most of them are taller and bigger than me, but they still little boys. If you're going to handle people in a way that says that you are intimidated by them, then people are going to interact with you like that. And for me, as Black women, we have to step and stand completely in our power. So by the time I decided to leave that job, all of my young men always got all of their merit points every week. They were never on any sort of role of doing any sort of wrongdoing. They were never out of line, and they were very quickly moving, and I was sending them home, just one after the other, to the extent that the superintendent of the place called me in and was like, are you faking these reports? And I was like, no, they really are doing that good. But for me, that came from standing in my power. I'm just going to be who I am, and I didn't even think about it like that. I just walked in there as a grown woman in a room full of kids. What can they say that's going to change my, and if one of them would start acting out, you know, sometimes they would jump and stand up on the table and holler, and I would just stand there and look at them. And after a while, they would look at me and be, I'm sorry, and they would get on down. I wasn't going to have no reaction to no child standing on the table hollering.
Right.
And the guards would be about to jump up and restrain the poor child. No, sir, please sit down. Please don't restrain this little boy. Give him a minute. And then he would get down, and he would say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. No, you shouldn't have. Come on in my office and talk to me about why you felt like you had to stand up on my table and yell. And then he'd come on in the office and tell me. See, we have to understand the magnitude of what it means to see us standing in our power. These children were supposed to be dangerous.
Right.
Some of these children had committed violent offenses. Many of them, as a matter of fact. So, but you have to stand in yourself. And you have to understand the influence that has. And when I see them now, they tell me, I'm still doing what you told me to do. Even though you left, I'm not. This is my wife. These are my children. This is the job I work when I see those young men now. And when I worked that job, I had bought me a little house in the hood. The little hood was re-gentrifying. And I went on and got on into gentrification and bought me a little house in the hood. So I was living in the hood when I worked that job. And that neighborhood was dangerous. But those boys told me, don't you live over in North Nashville? And I was like, yeah, ain't nobody going to mess with you. Didn't nobody ever steal my car. Didn't nobody ever break into my house. They were like, we got you. Because we know people on the outside, and we ain't going to allow where somebody will steal your car. I got you. But that's what it means. You have to show people who you are. Just be yourself. Just be yourself, Black woman. Don't tone down your ferocity. Don't tone down your love for your people. Don't let anybody else tell you when you look at your children what it is that you see. I'm not supposed to look at this little boy as a criminal. I'm not. He is a little boy.
Right.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody in here grown but me. It ain't but one grown person in the room, and that's me. So I'm not looking at him as a criminal. I'm looking at him as a little boy who needs some correction. And I'm good. I can correct him.
Mm-hmm.
Come on and get the correction. I didn't curse at them. I didn't yell at them because I was sure that that's what they were getting from home. I don't think nothing's wrong with cursing and yelling. But that's not what I gave to those children because I didn't think that they needed any more of that. But I stood firmly in my selfhood because I was the grown-up in the situation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference between my Black teachers growing up and my white teachers growing up.
There you go.
Were like that. They were just in the women. They handled their classes perfectly. The women, you know what I mean? And white teachers were so scared, and those were the ones who were always getting the boys suspended, you know, sent to school, stuff like that. And some of the kids that were supposed to be remedial, you know, they were smarter than I was. You know what I mean? They were, it just didn't anybody knew how to work with them. You know, so yeah, that was the difference.
Everybody walking around scared of children. I mean, if every generation is going to get bigger. This is what it means to have better nutrition and better medical care. So, of course, these children of today are bigger than us, but if that's going to make you fearful, then please don't get in a position to work with children. And please don't bear any. Don't have any. If somebody being taller than you is going to blow your mind to the degree where you can't give that person proper instruction. I completely feel you on that, girl. My children were doing that. My daughter had a white teacher last year. She hadn't ever been to school. She went to first grade. That was her first time being in public school. She had been homeschooled up until then. And she kept coming home with these horrible behavior reports. And I was like, girl, what are you up in this class doing? I am not sending you to class to act the fool. So, you know, I put the fear in her. She got her mind right. And a little white teacher came in, well, you know, actually, it's not that bad for her to get a low behavior. Yes, it is. Don't come over here telling me that she can get a low behavior. Please, what you scared of? She is 6. Are you really shaking in your boots like this behind a 6-year-old? Girl, I was so mad. So then this year, she got a good old Miss Hopkins. You know that's a sister right there. Good old Miss Hopkins. Everything is higher, girl. The reading level is high. The math level is high. It's off the chart. And here she is with this other woman. I'm thinking, well, I'm about to take her back to homeschool because she ain't reading. She ain't doing this. She's not. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. It was just that old soft teacher. I was like, oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. You know, Miss Hopkins told me when I went to meet with her the first time, she was like, yeah, those teachers are, you know, they're not really preparing them. And she was like, but it's fine, Mom. You know, they're going to get prepared in my class. So now, of course, all of her behavior things are A1. She's getting a little gold star. She's getting this, that, and the third because there's somebody who's standing in their adulthood. You know, doesn't mean you have to be mean to children. I'm not saying that. But you have to know that you're the adult in the room.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
I don't really feel like white teachers should teach. I feel like white European teachers have a very difficult time teaching Black children. It's a huge culture gap, and it's just too much for them. It seems like they don't know what to do.
I think it is too. I think that we're just scary to them in general. You know.
Yeah. And
the way that we speak, and I talk about this with my professors from time to time at grad school, and I don't have any Black professors, but I tell them, you know, I think that the passionate way that we speak is frightening to you all. We're passionate about everything, no matter where we are. African Americans are passionate, African Caribbeans, Africans born on the continent. We speak very passionately. And I think that to them, that translates as anger a lot of times when we're not angry. Like I've yelled on this call, but neither one of y'all thought I was mad. Y'all just knew I was into what I was saying. You know, if one of y'all had gotten loud, I would know, oh, she into what she's saying. Let me listen. She must really be talking about something. That's how we're going to interpret that. But for them, when they see that passion, because their cultural communication is so different, I have oftentimes watched them react in fear. And I'm like, you know, you need some cultural awareness training or something. I'm with you. I just feel that they just probably shouldn't be trying to teach black people. But if you go and teach black people, then you get some cultural awareness training. This is how we communicate. And yes, we're going to be waving our hands around. All of this is part of it. You know, when I was at a black school, I would cuss. We would cuss. The professors would cuss and the students would cuss at a black school. Girl, I'm at a predominantly white school at this particular point in time. And I'm like, ain't nobody cussing? They must not really be passionate about their subject matter. I had never experienced this. This is new. But I agree with you. It is a whole different way of communicating, and it is a completely different way of looking at your universe and being in tune with your universe. So it makes it almost impossible. And, you know, I'm an educator. I'm a teacher, you know. And so I don't understand. I can only imagine what they must be trying to reconcile within themselves when they're trying to teach black children. I can't imagine what that must feel like for them. You know,
they must be struggling because when you're just shopping together, like people like if I bump into somebody, they're like, oh, they're like, you know, so already just bumped into each other is not a big deal, or either they're trying to show me that they're not scared of me. You know, they
annoying,
big nasty way, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? You know, it's like so much psychosis when you just go shopping. It's crazy.
Yes. You are not speaking anything but the truth. It had gotten to a point where I was just beginning to really feel overwhelmed by that because I was so tired of having those types of interactions. Because in Atlanta, the places that I shopped were very black, you know. And so I just had stopped having those experiences to that same extent. So I had a whole 3 years of not really dealing with that as much, every now and again, but generally where I was going on a day-to-day basis was just black folks. So I got back to Nashville, and I was like, why is she leaping halfway across the aisle? Where is she going? You know, I just hadn't, and you know, I'm vegan, so you know, you go up in Whole Foods, and you're the only black person in Whole Foods. It's never happened to me in Atlanta. You go to Whole Foods in Atlanta, girl, they playing house music. You walking down the aisle like, what? You know, you breaking it down, you know, and Rock, the rapper Rock, works at the Whole Foods in Atlanta. This is what Whole Foods is in Atlanta. You know, so I get back to Nashville. I'm following up in the Whole Foods, you know, trying to get my little gluten-free bread, my little glitz, little glamour. You know, I follow up in there, and the people are literally stopping, you know, and turning around. I'm like, what in the hell? Yeah. Right. So, yeah, I hate that. But I think that our energy is very intimidating if you you just haven't been truthful with yourself about what the energy is. Right. And I think that's a large part of what we see going on with white America is that they keep telling themselves this story of who and what we are. That's not true. Yes. So then when they're faced with the reality of us on a day-to-day basis, I think they are still 500 years later like, you know, because on TV they can tell themselves that we're a certain type of thing. And that's the thing that they feel like that they can handle. But then, you know, they get in Whole Foods and it's just us. It's just us. And we there and we trying to buy a little vegan cheese or whatever the hell it is we buying. And I think that throws them off. I'm like, how are you thrown off 500 years later? How you thrown off?
Right. I think what pisses me off even more, like what makes me even more angry are the women. Those of us who feed into that, who say, you know, we just had a heated debate about the workplace and acting black, and it came off of the TV show Insecure, and it was an episode where a black lawyer, a sister, was in the workplace, and she was approached by another sister who had been there for a while and said, listen, hey, you know, you want to tone it down a little bit because these people are not used to how you are being right now. And she was like, well, I didn't tone it down when I was editor of the law review. I didn't tone it down for the interview, and I'm not going to tone it down now. And so people were like, you know, should she be herself, or is she wrong for acting black in the workplace? And it's like, and it was sisters in the conversation saying, you know, I'm against acting like that in the workplace. You need to tone it down. You need to be a certain way. You have to fit the white mold in order to get ahead in corporate America. So, it was, but that
I can't stand it.
It ain't no act. That's the first thing. It's not an act, boo. This is me.
right.
You know, and this is why I've never worked in corporate America. This is the
right
that I've never worked in corporate America because I can't morph myself or cut little pieces of myself off like that. And all of my friends that work in corporate America are still in cities that are known for being very black. So I have friends that work in corporate America in Atlanta. I have friends that work in corporate America in Detroit. And because the city is known for being black, I think they, you know, it comes off a little easier. Now, I'm not saying that they still don't have those kind of encounters and difficulties, but not the same as my friends that I know who work for corporate America here in Nashville. To me, they do have to tone it down or they would lose those jobs. So, to me, I don't think that we should be places that require us to tone it down. That's my thought. But everybody, you know, I want everybody to have the luxurious life that they want to have. So I'm not saying for us to settle for less, but I feel like it's just like locks. You know, I can remember when locks were not acceptable in the workplace. But now you can go anywhere and see a brother or a sister with long locks because people just kept wearing them. We just kept wearing them. We just kept doing it. So I feel like that if we continue to just be ourselves, that a certain type of comfortableness will have to be built because we're not stopping. Just like that's what we did with locks. That's what we did with natural hair. So now sisters are wearing their afros. We're wearing our afro puffs and things that nobody was doing that when I first graduated from college. You dare not go to an interview with a big old afro puff. You wouldn't come do that.
Right.
You know. But that's norm. That's completely and totally the norm. That's what sisters are doing. So the reason we were able to do it, or, you know, consider ourselves now if we're able to do it, is because we just didn't stop. If everybody has it, there's no way that you're going to have to stop. It's like I say about this generation of kids. You know, I have a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old, and everybody their age has piercings and tattoos everywhere. So, I mean, within the next 10 or 15 years, everywhere we go, that's what everybody's going to look like because they can't not hire all of them. They can't not hire all of them. So next 15 years, the bank manager is going to have piercings and tattoos. There's no way he's not. Because all of those kids have them. They all got the big plugs in their ears. And I think it's cool. I don't dislike it. But I'm just saying, I always tell them, you know, in my generation, we were told we couldn't do that kind of stuff because we weren't going to get hired. But that whole generation, they all are doing it. And they all like, fuck it, you ain't got to hire me. I'll go create an online company because they all know that shit. So they're changing it because they're not going to stop. You know, so to me, if we don't stop, you just have to be who you are. Whenever I'm at a graduate school function and they say we're having a potluck, well, what you gonna bring? You sure you want me to bring something? I'd be like, I ain't bringing mayonnaise sandwiches now. Y'all gonna be able to handle what I bring? I mean, I'm just open. I'm open. No, come on. We want to try something spicy. Okay. I want to hear about how it's hurting your mouth. And I tell them, I want to hear about how it's hurting your mouth. Okay, it's cool. I'm going to be me. You know, I'm going to come up in there with an African outfit on. I'm going to come up in there with some big wild hair, some big wild earrings, and a ring through my nose. I'm going to be that person. And you're going to have to figure it out.
Exactly.
You're going to have to. So to me, we have to, on certain things, we have to push a little more than what we're willing to push. And we have to stop waiting. My brother always said it's better to apologize than to ask for permission. So he's always like, try it first. Don't ask nobody if you can do it. Walk up in there with the nose ring and see what they say.
Absolutely.
You know,
don't
send no email. You know.
That's right.
Nose
ring in.
There you go. I've gotten more with it in than I have with it out, girl. The last time I took it out and my darn hole closed up, I didn't even get the job. So that's why I was like, I ain't taking it out. I ain't taking it out no more. I'm gonna just say, you know. But yeah.
I got two more questions and then I don't know what Risha has, but I wanted to ask you one question. You've always gone hard for Black women. Do you consider yourself a feminist or a womanist? and then and why or why not? And then after that, I wanted to ask you about the Chattahoochee. I don't know if I'm saying the name right, but I'm very interested because he had a temple where he wanted, and I think Risha will like this too. He was about making the African American. You had a way that you said it to deify the African American culture or something like that, and that was really interesting. That's what me and Risha are about, getting our African American tradition in there. So I wanted to ask you those two questions.
Okay. I don't consider myself a feminist or a womanist.
Praise the Lord.
I'm probably a womanist in practice, I would say.
Right.
Just knowing Alice Walker's definition and, you know, paying homage to her and everything in that way. But I consider myself a Pan-African gynocentric woman. I consider myself a radical woman of color. And the reason that I reject those other labels is because from my understanding of African society, which, you know, West African society, which is basically what has become African American society, we don't require that. It's not required. It is a matrifocal, matrilineal way of life. Right. So I'm not required to be anything but me. And I'm still the focal point of the society. So that's why I say gynocentrist. I come from a way of life that is gynocentric, where the womb, the vagina, the vulva, the buttocks, and the breasts are considered to be sacred objects, and they are at the center of the focus of society. That's the society that I come from. That is West African society. That is Nikan Takla, or Native American society. And those are the two races of people that created me. So those are the societies I come from. So from that perspective, there's no need for me to take on these other labels, because for me, I have found those labels to be restrictive. They restrict me. So I am woman-oriented, I am woman-centered, I am womb-centered, and in my life, I am completely gynocentric. That's how I live my life. So I think from the outside looking in, it more than likely would look like womanism, but that's not a label that I personally embrace. I'm not offended by being called either. I can be called a feminist, that's fine. It doesn't, you know, I don't have an emotional response to it. It's cool. But it's not, when you ask me, then I'm going to say, no, I don't really embrace that as a label. Do I appreciate radical feminist theorists like Audre Lorde and Bell Hooks? I do. I appreciate them to the highest. Their writings are part of what keeps me grounded in my life. But it's not, I'm not going to be on that particular forefront. For me, I'm fighting to divorce myself and my people from this society. And that, to me, is trying to change this society into a place where I will feel safe. And I don't believe that this society will ever be a place where I will feel safe, because it was built off of the rape of my grandmothers. So if it's built off of the rape of my grandmothers, I'll never feel safe here. So I don't want to change it. I don't vote. I don't participate in any sort of political process, because I want this shit to fall. That's my goal, is for this shit to crumble to the ground. That's what I want, because it was built in the womb of my grandmother against her will. So I don't uphold shit that goes on here in any kind of way. I don't participate in it, because I'm praying every night for it to crumble. I want to wake up and see it in a pile of rubble. That's what my rituals are about. And then I will rebuild from there. So that I'm over here working to do something that's counter all of that. And the Metahochi. So the Metahochi, now honored ancestor, he was my spiritual teacher. So I'm his godchild. And he created the spiritual system of the New African Vodun. New African Vodun is the deification of African American spirituality. He taught us that all religion is the deification of a culture. So Islam is the deification of Arabic culture. Christianity, as we know it today, is the deification of European culture. Judaism is the deification of white Hebraic culture, if such a thing exists. That's what that's supposed to be. So we see our Haitian brothers and sisters deified their culture and created voodoo. and this gave them the power that they needed to overthrow France. Our Puerto Rican brothers and sisters deified their culture, and they created Santeria. Our Cuban brothers and sisters deified their culture. They created Lucami. Our Brazilian brothers and sisters deified their culture, created Candomblé. All of these are ways of worshiping the deities. And we, as Africans in America, did not ever deify our culture. We have hoodoo, but we never took it to that next level. So Metahochi put within us the charge to deify that African American spirituality. And what he called it was the New African Vodun. And so when I teach about the Orisha, I teach from that perspective, us understanding that our experience of the Orisha, our experience of African traditional spirituality is just as valid as anyone from Nigeria, anyone from Cuba, anyone from Puerto Rico. And I don't say that any of those sources aren't valid. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that my way of experiencing Oshun is just as valid as however they experience her. So I don't take away their validity, but I also do not have to turn to them to validate what I do. You know? So I do what my grandmothers did, and I still know that to be Oshun. And I understand this is the way we, revere Oshun. It's from Tennessee. This is how we do it, And it's not the same way that it's done in Puerto Rico, and that's fine. And it's still Oshun, and it's still valid, So that is the foundation of New African Vodun.
I like that.
Yeah.
Sis, thank you so much. This has been a real treat for me because, like I said, it's really an honor to watch a lot of sisters who I looked up to just blossom and continue to mature. Even though y'all are not even a lot, y'all are a little bit older than me. I'm going to be 33 in April. Okay. And I still feel like I know I'm a woman, but I still feel like I'm coming into my own. And I don't know if that's a feeling that ever goes away or when it goes away with that.
That's 40th birthday.
Okay, good.
I promise
so I'm in the right place.
It's going to fall down on you. It's going to fall down on you. You're going to be like, oh, damn. And it's going to be no more bullshit after that. I promise. I am giving you a promise.
Good.
That is a guarantee.
I'm like, damn, am I behind? I feel like I'm behind. Like I feel like I'm old. I need to be already there, but I'm glad to hear that. And that's why so many of us need to be in constant contact with you all. So it really means a lot to me that you would come, and I'm definitely signing up for the next Black Witchcraft class.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
I will be honored to have you, and I am so thankful for the invitation. I'm thankful that we finally got it together and figured it out. Had our little obstacles and our little Mercury retrograde. As Shu was playing with us, we like to have him a good old time. So I was like, Bob, I'm going to give you a cigar. If we get it right, Bob, I got a cigar waiting on you, So I got him. I'm going to set him up after this call. But I'm so honored. I am always honored to be able to talk to my sisters and to just work with my sisters and to see us doing this work and putting in this work. It is a blessing to be alive during this time, during this age of Aquarius, where we can actually see these changes coming into play. And I want us to continue to walk without fear because the old regime is not going to die gently. It's going to go kicking and screaming. But I want us to continue to not be fearful and continue to know that it's our time. You can't stop it when your era has come around. So it's our time. We good. We all good. We got this. And we know what to do, and we ready to step into the place, of our big mamas and sit on our thrones and do what we need to do. And I'm excited. I wake up every day really excited and really happy to be alive during the time that my parents sang about, back in the 60s. So it is a magnificent time to be alive. I'm so happy that my sisters are courageous enough to come and take my class. I was scared to teach the classes. I was like, ain't nobody going Black witchcraft? That sounds scary. So I'm happy that my sisters have their mantles of courage on. And, there's nowhere to go from here but completely and totally through the roof. So I'm happy to see us doing that. So peace and blessings as always, love, light, unconditional love, and ecstasy, abundance, and bliss to everyone who's within the sound of my voice that's wishing us the same, us and our children.
Mm-hmm.
And we wish the lessons of life to those who are wishing us otherwise.
Otherwise.
I say.
All right, y'all. Let me go feed these babies.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am,
then.
me too. Have a good night.
All right. I hear you. Y'all too. Peace.